No problems, Maharaj.
And I
Thank you so much for your...
totally forgot about the fact that it's just 5:30. I've been very busy today. Extremely sorry. Sorry for making all of you wait.
No problem, Maharaj.
Haribol.
No problem, Maharaj.
No problem, Maharaj.
So, Jayendran,
Yes, Maharaj.
I'm sorry, Jaya Sachinandana Das.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Dandavat pranams. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for your time. Really grateful.
Jnanatimirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Nama om Vishnu padaya Krishna prashtaya bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Haribol.
Maharaj, I know it's already late, but can I just quickly introduce you for a minute, Maharaj?
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So thank you again,
I am
Maharaj.
at fault. I am at fault, and the privilege is all yours.
No, Maharaj, please don't say that. We are very grateful for your time, and I mean, so much of a busy schedule you have. So I'll make it very quick. So His Holiness Bhakti Vinod Swami Maharaj. I mean, I'll make it also personal, not very formal. Got introduced to Krishna consciousness in early 80s when Maharaj was in Bombay. So Maharaj recounts how he got the science of self-realization, and he just finished it in one day, and that changed Maharaj's life forever. Maharaj decided to commit his life to Krishna consciousness. He joined as a monk in 1983 or 4. Sorry, Maharaj, if I'm wrong. So Maharaj was pursuing a very 84. So a very lively career.
I'm sorry, 83 I got initiated. 84 I joined up. End of 84.
Yes, Maharaj. Thanks for the correction, Maharaj. So Maharaj joined the temple in 1984. Maharaj was working in a very, very enterprising position. Maharaj was working in the great responsibility, but Maharaj chose to sacrifice his life for all of us, and because of his sacrifice, I am my humble self. I'm here, so I'm very grateful to Maharaj. So he's introduced many devotees, has introduced many people throughout his years. So Maharaj has been instrumental in leading a whole congregation in Coimbatore. There is new congregations coming up in Trivandrum, Cochin, Erode, Tirupur, so many places. Forgive me, Maharaj, if I'm missing a few places, but Maharaj has introduced so many devotees. And personally speaking, when Maharaj speaks, definitely you can see the love that Maharaj has for Srila Prabhupada. And anyone who hears Maharaj speak can definitely have that instilled in his heart as well. Maharaj can sow love for Srila Prabhupada, gratefulness to Srila Prabhupada, that I think I'm very much, I really have a long way to cultivate that. And I mean, Maharaj's speech is very powerful, and I'll let Maharaj's speech do the talking. I'll leave it there. Thank you, Maharaj, for your time. Hare Krishna.
Haribol, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for saying so many things about me which are not true. You forgot to say the thing that trying to be a servant of all of you, especially today. And I would love to see all your beautiful Vaishnava faces, but then you've instead shut off the videos and put on your stickers and photographs and poses, which I don't mind seeing anyway. But in these days of COVID, virtual times, I wouldn't want to see a virtual image, but that's anyway better than nothing. But thank you very much for some of you switching on the videos wherever it's possible. Are these devotees from Farmington or also from other places?
Most of them are from Farmington, as Maharaj.
Okay, but I did visit all of you once, right?
Yes, Maharaj, back in 2000.
Once we did a program, I think.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. Some of them are from the Detroit congregation also, Maharaj. And
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be here with all of you. I don't know what the time there is here. It's evening 5:30 p.m., which I mistook the time for 6 o'clock and I'm on time for 6 o'clock. Sorry. I somehow read it at 5:30. So I'm very happy to be here with all of you and share with you a few realizations on the Srimad Bhagavatam's portion that Jai Sachinandana has selected, or some of you have selected to speak a few words about. But actually, that's a pretty technical and deeply intricate description of the creation, Sarga and Visarga, sub-creation and the creation, in a conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. All the same, we would try to do as much as I can within the limited time we have. However, just to say that I'm very happy to be here with all of you, and I will try to keep my talk as short as possible and spend a little more time interacting with you if you have any questions. That would be what I would prefer because of the nature of the discussion between Vidura and Maitreya. It can go very deep into deep technical matters, which I am not a very great expert in, However, Om Tat Sat, Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shumate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitanamane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Ram Hare Hare. Right. So this is a wonderful section from the third canto, and it is got a lot to do with two great characters, Vidura and Maitreya Rishi. And Vidura is got a history as to how he lands up in this particular time. Vidura is gone through a lot, and finally, in his great endeavor to patch up, bring some type of understanding amongst the Kauravas and the Pandavas, and also in his tireless, relentless effort to counsel Dhritarashtra, his brother, it all ended up in an amazing way in Vidura strongly advising his brother Dhritarashtra to give rightfully what is due to the Pandavas, their kingdom, or whatever they were requesting, and not mess around with it, because that is the right thing to do. That's the dharmic thing to do. That is the proper conduct of a king, an emperor like you. But Dhritarashtra chose to take sides with his son, Duryodhana, obviously for obvious reasons. And then that created a very bad taste when Duryodhana spoke very sharp words. So sharp words he spoke that Vidura decided that I don't want to spend my valuable time here anymore. And then he parked his bow on the corner of the palace and he just left in total disgust. He was also hurt. And he left in total disgust. So the discussion there is about how Vidura got hurt, and then he went on a pilgrimage. He met with Uddhava, and then after meeting with Uddhava and getting to know about the victory of the Pandavas in the battle, and after also getting to know that Krishna has passed away, and Uddhava telling him about the beautiful pastimes of Krishna in remembrance, he concludes and tells how Krishna has passed away. And how while passing away, Krishna did think about Vidura. And hearing that, Vidura became so emotional and let out a loud cry that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he while he passed away, he remembered me. And so the connection that was established at that point was a very wonderful event. Normally, we are asked to think of Krishna at the time of we passing away. Antakale chamam eva smaran muktva kalevaram. So we are asked to think about Krishna. But here is Krishna thinking about his devotee as being communicated to him. Krishna thought about you before he left. Isn't it amazing? Such an important person Vidura is. He could actually inspire anybody. And rightfully so. Uddhava describes to him many things, and he himself is torn with separation from the Lord because the Lord has disappeared and given him a particular mandate to go to Badrika Ashrama and meet with the sages there and convey to him the information that, Krishna is conveyed to Uddhava, the whole Bhagavatam message and everything. So Uddhava had this particular assignment. And so when he asked, so what can I like to talk to you and like to hear what Krishna told you. At that time, he pointed out saying that along with me was Maitreya too, hearing from Krishna. I am going on my assignment. You should go and meet Maitreya who is nearby. And he will be happy to tell you everything. So in this way, under the order of Uddhava, who was a very, very senior, powerful devotee, having another beautiful history to him. He left and Vidura traveled after he met with Uddhava on the bank of the Yamuna. And then from there he traveled further and met with Maitreya Rishi in Haridwar. And there in Haridwar, Maitreya Rishi was very happy to meet with Vidura. And he glorified Vidura for who he is. Vidura was asking questions of Maitreya. And then Maitreya revealed that I know who you are. You are not just an ordinary person. You are actually Yamaraj. You have been cursed. And you have come into this particular situation, the curse of Mandukya Muni. And because of that, you have accepted this situation. You're one of the Mahajanas, one of the 12 great authorities on devotional service to the Lord. And is there anything you don't know? Definitely you know. But since you're asking me this question, and since it's my duty to say that, and since I've been chosen as an instrument to convey this information to you, I would be only very happy to answer your questions. In this way, the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya starts, and this is the history behind it, Vidura and Maitreya's meeting. So both are far away from all the hustle and bustle and all the politics and everything in the city of Hastinapura and all the political entanglements that are going on, all that have come to an end. But they're out here, out in the forest, discussing the absolute truth, discussing reality, discussing many deep subject matters that we always want to know, want to hear. So here is Vidura starting off by asking Maitreya, I'd just like to hear how we are in this position. What happened? How did we, living entities, human beings, come into this situation of being situated here in the world of matter? Who created this? How did the Lord create this? How are we inside it? Prakriti sthani karshati. Inside this material domain, how are we situated? Karshati, grappling with it. Who did it? So this is like an existential question. Of course, not that he was not believing in God and not that he did not know the answer to this, but bringing it down to a point where in this day and age, at this point of time, we can tend to ask these natural questions, which people are asking. What is happening? Who are we? Where do we come from? Who got all these things ready? It's so systematic. It's got such a complicated setup. And it's perfectly run with clockwork precision. The planets moving around, the sun rising, the sun setting, and so many wonderful things happen. Who set it up? This is anybody's existential question. Look into the skies, you see the stars, and at any point in time, wonder what is going on there? Where am I? What am I doing here? An existential question. So Vidura wanted to start with that. He said, can you explain to me how this creation happens? How the Lord is manifested himself? So the main focus here is creation and thereby the creator. Working backwards, I see myself in a nice package, very well facilitated, wonderfully done. Who did it? How did he do it? It's a very natural question we should be asking. It's the first question anybody will be asking. Where am I? Who am I? What is this world? What's it about? So Vidura also started with the same question. And obviously, Maitreya was not going to speculate and say originally there was a big bang and singularity and everything came out of that, and then this orderliness came out of the bang. This is the bang for your question. He didn't say any of those things. He didn't say the things that we normally would expect anybody to say in this world. Sit and speculate and say a few things. No, he knew exactly what it is. He knew exactly. He didn't speculate one bit. He straight away answered the question. Because he was a disciple of Parashara Muni. And Parashara Muni was spoken to earlier by Lord Sankarshana. In this way, he comes in a whole parampara of having heard the Bhagavatam himself. So he knows. Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavaye Mukhyanti Yat Suraya. That same Bhagavatam that was spoken to Brahma from his heart. That same information that Krishna says, Jnanam Parama Guhyam Me Yat Jnanam Yat Samanvitam Savijnanam Samavitam Sa Rahasyam Angam Cha Grahana Gaditam Maya. This knowledge about me is very confidential. It cannot be understood by anybody so easily. Sa Rahasyam Tadangam Cha. This has to be understood only in conjunction with devotional service. And it is Jnanam Parama Guhyam, supremely confidential and secretive. That information he gave to Brahma, Teni Brahma Hridayadi Kavaye, the famous Chatushloki Bhagavatam, which you would have read in the second canto. So that knowledge has been coming down through Parashara Muni to Maitreya Muni. He also knows about it. So he didn't speculate. He immediately said, I'll tell you, I know about it. Why you know about it? I know about it because I heard about it. I heard about it. And how do you know what you heard about is true? Because it's coming in the parampara. Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavaye. Coming in the parampara. Coming from the Lord himself. Therefore. So that's the premise. The premise is faith in the scripture and the knowledge coming down. And he is confident and fully understood it, and he knows about it. At the same time, Maitreya Muni is not acclaimed to be one of the pure devotees of the Lord. In fact, Prabhupada passes a comment in the second canto on the purport saying that Maitreya Muni is not a pure devotee. And the Lord did not very much want him there when he was speaking to Uddhava. But somehow or the other, by some quirk of fate and by some action, he was there. So he got benefit for it. It was a very strange comment. I mean, it's difficult for us to understand that. But he said, in spite of all that, he got the opportunity here. Right? So, and Uddhava made use of that and said, go ask Maitreya Muni. He was also there at that time. And so in this how he was directed to Maitreya Muni. But Maitreya Muni, another point, is speaking to Vidura, who is one of the Mahajanas, one of the 12 great authorities in devotion service. But in the same canto, Prabhupada is saying, but Maitreya Muni is not so great, even like Vidura or Uddhava. But we are hearing that Vidura is asking and hearing from Maitreya Muni. See, that's the interesting part of this. Why? Nichadapi uttamam jnanam Stri Ratnam Dushkuladapi Amedhadapi Kanchanam. Chanakya Pandit Prabhupada quoted often and said, even from the lowest person, you can get the highest knowledge. From the worst kula and dynasty, you can pick up a Stri Ratna, wonderful girl. And even if gold is inside stool, you should pick it up, wash it up and use it. Why not? It's still valuable. So, because Maitreya Muni is going to transfer that information as it is, he may not be somebody great in terms of devotional service, but definitely he can convey this information as it is. And Vidura knows that he can do it, although he is Yamaraj, although he is Dharmaraj, although he knows he is an authority in devotional service, although he is posing a very fundamental, basic question, still. And then Maitreya Muni, therefore, starts answering. So this is the setting and this is how this conversation is coming to. So it's always not necessary that the person who is speaking to you has to be a liberated, pure devotee of the Lord only. He could be a person, even a sadhaka, but very true to what he is hearing and transmitting it as it is. That message is potent. Why? It's unadulterated. It's coming as it is to you. And this was the humility that Prabhupada had. You see, in an open setting, in a big program, Prabhupada was asked after the lecture, are you liberated? What a powerful question to ask. You know, he has asked, are you liberated? And Prabhupada immediately became a little serious and closed his eyes, lowered his head a little bit. And then very emotionally he said, I may not be liberated, but I am strictly following a liberated person, my guru. Therefore, I am liberated. And this was so satisfying an answer to everybody there. They literally applauded. Because it's so natural and coming from the heart. Prabhupada said, I may not be liberated. I don't claim to be. I don't claim to be, and it doesn't matter if I am not. But the point is, I am giving you as it is. What a liberated person has given me. Therefore, you can get liberated by hearing this. Even if I am not liberated, you can get liberated. Because it's coming as it is without any change to you. So this I thought was a very interesting point. That Maitreya Muni is speaking and Prabhupada has commented like this about Maitreya Muni. And Vidura is eagerly hearing from him because it excites him about knowledge of Krishna, makes him think about Krishna. So a description of the creation is actually all about Krishna. It's not that only Rasa Leela is about Krishna. It's not only the 10th canto is about Krishna. Prabhupada strongly says that who said that anything to do inside the Bhagavatam is connected with Krishna. And from anything you can revel in understanding and remembrance of Krishna consciousness, of Krishna. So Maitreya Muni starts in his very simple way by explaining how Brahma went through austerity, finding himself alive, existing, all of a sudden in a whole big universe. He was the only person. Talk of loneliness. Sometimes devotees tell you, I am feeling lonely. You remember how lonely Brahma must be feeling. It's nobody in the universe. Only him. Not just in the room in the lockdown. He was locked down in the whole universe with nobody else with him. It was a universal lockdown. And there was nobody else inside but Brahma. Can you imagine? And then he, by his inspiration, understood that he has to do tapasya, and he did tapasya, and there was a voice from the sky that told him, tapa, tapa. He performed tapasya, and successfully he was able to connect with Krishna, and he met with Krishna. He was taken into Vaikuntha Loka, met with Krishna, and Prabhupada says he shook hands with him. To make sure everything is real, boy, let me just pinch myself and also shake hands with the Supreme Lord. And the Lord also shook hands with him and said, yeah, it's all true, it's all true. Everything is, fine. And he shook hands with him. So, and then he got instructions. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kaviye. He got instructions, and then he was inspired. And then the Lord expanded himself as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu inside and assumed the Virat Rupa form, the Vishwarupa form of the Lord, with all the material ingredients nicely placed. And there's a huge description about this. We don't have time to get into it. But different parts of the body of the Virat Rupa are different parts of the universe. And from the navel comes a lotus in which Brahma was situated. And in this way, there's a whole description of the Vishwa Purusha, Virata Purusha. And in the Virata Purusha manifestation, the Lord is actually first appearing in this whole material situation as Mahavishnu and manifesting the Mahat Tattva, the total material initial substance. And then by Saikshata, by looking at that material situation, he impregnates with living entities. And before that, many things happen. And there's a whole sequence, Sarga. Atra Sarga Visargascha Sthanam Poshanam Utayah. Manvantri Ishanukata Nirodo Muktirashayah. These are the 10 topics of a Purana, specifically about Bhagavatam. And there is description of Sarga Visarga, creation and sub-creation. The original creation is done by the Supreme Lord himself, providing all the basic elements, right? And that he does by a very systematic design. And this is talk about one universe where Chaturmukha Brahma is there. And he's going ahead and performing this creative act. He agitates the modes of material nature, the matter gets agitated, and through that, the sum total of the false ego of all the living entities who are going to get to enjoy matter there is first taken into consideration. And through that, false ego, the three modes affecting false ego in the mode of goodness, false ego in the mode of passion, false ego in the mode of rajas, various things happen. For the mode of ignorance come all the material elements like Bhumi, Rapo, Analo, Vayu, Kam, Mano, all that stuff comes. Earth, water, fire, air, from the subtle to the gross. And then the demigods also appear. And all these things happen from the three modes agitation of the material situation. And then creation, the initial creation is done. It is something like we're going to build a building, like we are now constructing a temple here in Coimbatore. We have a big property here. And we are right in the center of the city. We have 8 acres of property here. And after a long time, we are building a temple. Construction work is going on even today, every day. So we sort of give a contract to somebody. And we may be sometimes supplying the basic materials like bricks and sand and water and electricity and steel and whatever. Those basic things. But this contractor assembles all those things together. He concretes beams, columns, pillars, slabs, and does masonry work, and there is piping, and there's electrification. So many things happen. Boom! A beautiful structure is up. But he did it because all the basic stuff was given to him. Right? So the same way, the basic stuff is sarga. That can be done only by the Lord. Then the Lord invests his creative potency in Brahma to do the sub-creation, visarga. The secondary creation is he creates all the bodies of the living entities, specially designed, and then according to the consciousness of the living entities, they all get into those bodies. And then they start enjoying matter according to the false ego status and other things that they have manifested. Then many, many things happen. Right? So this happens like an everyday affair for Brahma. It's not that it's like once in a lifetime. It's an everyday affair. Every day there are 1,000 Chatur Yugas, Divya Yugas. And within that time, he does 1,000 times creation. And then he goes to rest at the end of the day. And he gets up again the next morning and starts again. That's like a bigger pralaya at that time, smaller pralayas the other time. So it's a whole big description about creation and its various facets. The smaller ones, the bigger ones, the larger ones. And Brahma lasts only for one breath of Mahavishnu. In human calculation is 311 trillion and 40 billion years, according to human lifespan. That is his lifespan. And then as soon as that's over, he finishes. And that is considered to be just Yasyaikanis Vashita Kalam Athabalambya Jivam Tiloma Vilaja Chakadandanata Vishnu Mahan Ihayasya Kala Visesho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yasyaikanis Vashita Kalam, Swasha Kalam, your breathing time. That person whose breathing time, inhalation and exhalation, is the lifetime of Brahma, is but a kala, is but an expansion of the original expansion of the expansion. That Govinda, who is the original, is whom I worship, is Brahma is saying. Is going past Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, going past Mahavishnu, and identifying with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the original creator. And by his expansions of the Purusha avatars, he is doing the creation. Krishna doesn't actually directly mess with any of the matter and material stuff. Chaitanya Charitamrita Prabhupada says he is Turiya, fourth dimension. Vishnu is not even Turiya because he has to deal with matter and the material stuff. But it's only Krishna who is beyond, completely transcendental. But that same Krishna is conducting the whole material creation through the agency of his expansions through Mahavishnu. Vishnu's tu trini rupani purushakyani ato vituhu ekkattu mahatva srishti dvitiyam tu anda samastam dvitiyam sarvabhutastam tani gyatva vimuchyate. He expands and there are three Vishnus, trini rupani, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu and Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. All of them are manifestations of the Lord to enter inside the material creation. Pravishyanti tat Vishnu. Vishnu, the Lord, when he enters the material creation, he is called Vishnu. He assumes the role of Vishnu. That's why he's called Vishnu. He penetrates and he becomes the super soul. Vishnu, Mahavishnu, the super soul of the whole material creation. Garbhodakshayi Vishnu is the super soul of the universe. And Kshirodakshayi Vishnu is spread as Paramatma, is the super soul in the heart, accompanying the soul. In this way, he penetrates entire material creation, even the atom. Andantara Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. He enters even the atom. So you can imagine he's all pervading. That's why it's called Sarvavyapi. He's everywhere. You cannot hide from him. You cannot hide from him. He's right in your heart as a personality, Paramatma. And he is in anything and everything that you handle in matter, in the material world. So you can't actually escape the Lord's presence. That's why materialistic people, in trying to keep away God in studying creation, are making the biggest mistake. If you keep away God, you keep away creation actually. Because he's spread everywhere. How can you keep away God and try to understand creation? First of all, if you understand the creation means the Lord's potency. And in the potency, the Lord is resting. He is available as his expansion, kala, vishesha, everything. So how can you avoid the Lord? Materialistic thought means how to subtract the Lord and without that enjoy and exploit matter. That's abject materialism. That's why you don't understand matter properly. That's why you can never understand creation properly. If you want to understand material science properly, understand matter properly, if you want to understand even subatomic stuff properly, in the quantum world properly, you want to understand the macro universe properly, in everything, if you just acknowledge Krishna and his presence, instantly you understand. That is the key. And Maitreya and Vidura both have acknowledged Krishna deeply and they have understood him deeply. And therefore, they are able to delve very deep into creation aspects. This is a key point. And that's why sometimes we don't understand. When we read the Bhagavatam and all this creation structure of the universe, it's not so easy to understand at all. But Prabhupada said, you will understand as you progress in Krishna consciousness. As you get closer to Krishna more devotionally, then you'll be able to understand. So the understanding explained by Maitreya Muni is understood by Vidura, because both are devotees and they both recognize the Supreme Lord. And Vidura especially is a very deep devotee. So he understands. So there's understanding happening here in the great. We may not understand everything that we are even saying, what to speak or what you're hearing, right? So I remember that there's a conversation of Prabhupada and in his early days and his disciples telling him that we went and heard so-and-so Swamiji. Because there was some things were not so strict at those times, and people got excited about Prabhupada and what he's saying, and they went to discover Eastern philosophy with some other guys here and there. So Prabhupada was obviously not very happy, but what to do? So he heard them saying that we went to heard that Swamiji. So Prabhupada said, what did he speak about? Let's say he spoke about creation. And then Prabhupada said, so what did he say? So these two people said, we didn't really catch what he said, couldn't understand. Then Prabhupada turned around and said, that's because the person who's speaking to you also doesn't understand. He has no faith in the Supreme Lord and he doesn't understand, right? He made this strong comment to them and they were there hanging around wondering, maybe this is true? Because whatever Prabhupada tells us, we seem to understand very easily. And we went to the Swamiji, he gave us an experience of something, he's floating up in the sky and I am somewhere deep down in the Patala Loka and I have to look up at him. So inferior in front of him. Prabhupada makes it so nice that he makes us understand it. So Prabhupada must have understood it, right? So a devotee of the Lord can explain creation to whatever extent. And Krishna as Super Soul in the heart manifests the understanding. So between Vidura and Maitreya, there was a very good conjoined effort to question and understand. Who was the best listener and the best speaker both together, not by virtue of being very good at the sleight of the tongue and being very verbose and very good at speaking. Not that. It is just that each of them understood Krishna and they were able to communicate. Communication will never be hampered if you're both God conscious, Krishna conscious. It will be hampered only when we are not Krishna conscious. You may be a great speaker, you may be a voluble speaker, you may be so many things, but you'll see you cannot communicate with the other guy. You can't make him understand. Why? You don't have faith in Krishna. So two devotees can get soul to soul very easily, even without speaking. So that was happening there between Vidura and Maitreya. We must appreciate this. It's not just an ordinary conversation. You know, hi, bye, how are you? Good morning. How's life? What happened? Did you change the diapers of your kids? Did you take your wife to the hospital? Did you do this? All that stuff. It doesn't require anything. And we forget it instantly. So conversation, Samvada between Vidura and Maitreya means many things. So he described Sarga because he described Krishna and he described the wonderful potency of the Lord. And before describing himself, he glorified Vidura. He glorified the Supreme Lord. He glorified his spiritual master and those people are given. He was putting himself in coordinates in the space very nicely. Where am I? Who am I? How I got this opportunity to speak to you. It's a great opportunity. In this way, he expounds Visarga, what Brahma did. And he goes into details about how Brahma started his creation and real problems started for Brahma. Because Brahma is not the Supreme Lord. He is another living entity, though extremely qualified. In Sarga, there was no problem for Krishna at all because he's the Lord and Master. It happened. But in Visarga, there are problems. Why? Because it's Brahma. And he has personal problems too. And he has problems with the people who are embodying themselves. Here, really problems. It is very much like ISKCON. And it's a spiritual place, and it should be perfect, it's fine, Are, I just saw the Lord, I met him, shook his hands, and he told me to do these things, and I completely surrendered and have all these problems. Yes, you will have. Welcome to the world of Hare Krishna. You definitely will have problems because even Brahma had problems. Who are you? A fig in front of Brahma, right? So Brahma, he started having problems. One of the first problems he had was when he created the Sanat Kumaras, the 4 Kumaras. They refused to do the job of being Prajapatis. They said, oh, sorry, Pop. Sorry, Father, I have some other plans, you know. I said, how dare you? I mean, what do you think? How will I do the whole, forget it. But we have other plans because we have understood that all this stuff is like your management stuff. Just like in ISKCON, many times they say, Prabhu, I don't do management. I don't do organization stuff. I just read Bhagavatam, chant Hare Krishna and preach. That's all I can do. Right? They were similar, the 4 Kumaras. They told Brahma he had same problems. They said, sorry, Pop, sorry, Father, I can't help you with your so-called Prajapati and populating the whole universe and everything. Extremely sorry, I can't do this because we are, Brahman realized. And he got really angry. And out of his anger came, boom, Rudra, Shiva was created. He was given 11 places. And he started his Prajapati activities, and that created other problems. He told him, stop, stop, stop. What's going on here? He told Shiva to stop. He had a lot of problems. And then he created Saraswati, and he felt Saraswati is very beautiful. He went behind her. And then the whole other sages and said, what are you doing, Father? How can you do this? And imagine the amount of problems in the material world. You do any creation, even Brahma does it, he has problems. And he had personal problem because he went behind Saraswati, his own daughter. And they all came and told him, what are you doing? Just what are you doing? You are Brahma. God himself, another body were praying to the Lord and say, I did this, I made a mistake. Never mind, go ahead, keep going. There was a lot of encouragement from Krishna. He said, no, you make, okay, you flung it, you blew it. It's okay, take this new body and start doing again. Don't stop. Krishna is very merciful. You want to serve, okay, doesn't matter. Apichat sudaracharo bhajate maamanan yabha sadureva samantabhyah samyak vyavasito hi saha. In this way, he went ahead with his creation. And there's a huge history about how this thing occurred. And the topic shifts for amazing topic of calculation of time. And from the vibration of the atom, and so much of exotic stuff discussed there between Maitreya and we thought that it's just pastimes and this thing, but they become the most hardcore of scientists. They actually discuss vibration. And where are they sitting down? Somewhere on the bank of some place, in Haridwar, bank of the Ganges, and these two people, they must be having beards and long hair and wearing scanty clothing. And two individuals, who knows? Nobody would have guessed that these people are discussing about how to calculate time from the vibration of the atom. Fantastic description of scales of time from Brahma's lifetime, 311, 40 billion years, to small Nimisha of Vishnu. Vishnu breathing is how much? Is 311 trillion 40 billion years in terms of human lives. And that time has come a relative time, absolute time, linear time, cyclical time, name it. Everything was being nicely put forth there. We have absolutely no time to get into that now. But these things were discussed very wonderfully there. And the conversation went ahead into other areas. But the great thing about this Samvada, about this discussion, is the fact that we get a great appreciation for the Supreme Lord. If we put ourselves in that place and see, what am I hearing? Why am I hearing? You will get to know the personal element of Krishna is involved in it. He is doing it for his children. He is doing it for his part and parcels. He's saying that Mama ivam sa jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manas sashtan indriyani prakriti sthani karishati mamaiva amsha. my parts and parcels, my children, so I have to look after them. So therefore, he's making this creation. Why? Because they have an illegal desire, an illegitimate desire. But who will satisfy that desire? The desire is, I want to stay away from you, Father, and I want to play Father for some time. And you don't come there and disturb me because you'll steal the thunder. When I am playing Krishna in my Krishna project, my God project, that I plan to do, if you step inside, you'll spoil everything because you're the real Krishna. And there I want to imitate and become me. Become Krishna, myself. So do not disturb me. So the essential pre-qualification for being in this material world and enjoying material life is you have to be in forgetfulness of the reality. You have to be in illusion. You have to forget Krishna, you have to forget who you are. Then only you can be in the illusion of thinking I am the Lord and Master of everything. Aham mameti. Then only you can do it. And that forgetfulness is imposed on you. And who is doing that lovingly to you? The Supreme Lord. He's giving you a situation where you can forget him. And you will definitely suffer because this is illusion. The anxiety you'll have about reality pitted against your illusory enjoyment will never leave you. Because deep inside you have a pulse of it. This is not real. And you will ever remain dissatisfied. Although externally you invest and think that you can get these bits and pieces of fleeting ephemeral enjoyments and contacts with matter and brief spurts of some temporary joy, sensual gratification. But you're back to square one every time. And you're always forced to remember, this is not real. Smaranityam anityatam. Chanakya Pandit said, if you're intelligent enough, you should constantly meditate on the temporary nature of this world. Anitya. That's the result of an intelligent person's knowledge. So whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm doing, these things are not really real. They don't last. And that's how you'll be getting an impetus to invest in Krishna consciousness. So the material world is designed like that by the Lord. Okay, go enjoy. But it's designed for you to spring back because it will never be satisfying. Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It's dukkha alayam. It gives you misery because you're disconnected from your original position. You see, you're disconnected from Krishna, which is the greatest misery. And you're disconnected from knowing yourself, who you are in real. So this is a great anxiety for the soul, actually. That's why Prabhupada compares it to the fish out of water. You'll be just struggling. You're out of your element. And how can you be happy there? But then somehow you try to accommodate yourself life after life and get used to the illusion, get addicted to the sense enjoyment, get attached and all that. You've got really imprisoned for too long and you think that this is my place, boy, and I can't get out of this place. It reminds me of that movie called Shawshank Redemption. I was asked to see some portions of it by some devotee and said, Maharaj is a great thing. And I used some portion of it for a presentation. And that there is a small clip wherein there is a guy, there's an old guy who maintains a library inside. He's 50 years in the prison. He's very loyal and he's a very nice guy and everything. So the management there has given him promotion to becoming a librarian or something like that. And it's time for him, his time and his whole period is over. So they're going to relieve him. But he don't want to go. He doesn't want to go because he said, what do I know outside? I don't know anybody. I lived my life here for 50 years. I want to stay in the prison. And so he gets mad when the time comes and he starts knifing somebody else and, he tries to kill somebody else because he's, in great anxiety that I'm going to be sent out of the prison. And I don't know anything else but the prison. I like this place. I like the books. I like the room. I like the library. I like the people. I like this. Let me die here. And that's a very wonderful scene where it is shown that this guy is trying to kill somebody else and finally they talk him out of it. And then they discuss it. And then they discuss these walls around here are so deadly. They condition us. They actually institutionalize us. into this prison and they make us forget the reality. So we are like that in this material world for many, 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 many janmas. Bahunam janmanam ante. Somehow, it's only by the mercy of a pure devotee like Prabhupada that we crack open and we get to know that, boy, this is not my place. There's another place that Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, that parastasmatu bhavo anyo vyakto avyaktat sanatana yasa sarveshu bhuteshu nasyetsuna vinashyati. This is the purpose of creation. You're not supposed to get locked on to this, right? And we're supposed to break out of this. However nice the creation is, however wonderful it is to listen, it's a prison house. We need to get out. And the Lord is sitting with us while you're enjoying illegally, falsely in your heart, is willing to immediately help you to get out. Anytime, anytime. That's what is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, and Prabhupada repeatedly talks about it. So the creation description is very interesting because it's the Lord who has made it. And He has taken tremendous pains to design it, systematize it, organize it, and give you all the material facilities that you want to enjoy illegally, matter. But at the same time, all He requests you is, please chart out a progress simultaneously to get to know me. Anityam asukham lokyam mimprapya bhajasvama. Having achieved this material situation, which you wanted so much, now will you worship me? Because you got what you want. Will you worship me? Imam prapya bhajasvama. Worship me. Krishna is requesting, manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Worship me. Get out of this. It's not good for you. You're totally forgotten yourself, everything. You're in great illusion. I feel very bad seeing this. It's out of His mercy that He sends personalities like Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada inside this hellhole, inside this dense darkness of the material creation. It's packed with 8 layers of Bhumi, Rapo, Analo, Vayu, 10 times each. And it's really densely dark. The whole outside is all the Brahmajyoti and fantastic effulgence of the Lord. But you're inside this. And there is a small hole, and through which the reflection from the sun planet, the Brahmajyoti light is coming inside. It's a reflection from the sun planet, not even the original Brahmajyoti. Prabhupada explains this. And so that, since it's very dark, a little light, a reflection, like sometimes you shine with a piece of glass and get to see what is going on the dark side inside. A little reflection inside the dark place is tamas. Tamasoma jyotirgamaya asatoma satkamaya. Get out of the untruth and get into the truth. Get rid of the darkness into the light. So when we hear the creation, we see the complexity, the great dedication, the meticulousness, and the great endeavor that all the agencies of the Lord are putting, and all to favor us and our illegal desire. Krishna is creating this entire situation, so much of work to accommodate us and our illegal desire. Who said the Lord is not merciful? Who said the Lord is not a person? If you understand creation, you'll understand personality of Godhead. And you will instantly feel all this for me to accommodate my illicit desire, to stay away from you. How merciful you must be. How caring you must be. And you are also accompanying me life after life as my dear friend, as Paramatma, so that I can navigate nicely in this material world and get what I want, plus benefit. And I've never looked at your face. I don't want to. Krishna bahid mukha bhogavancha kare. I turn my face away from you to enjoy, because if I look at you, you'll steal the thunder, because you're the original enjoyer. Bhoktaram yajnatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram sukhridam sarva bhutanam kyatvamam shantim richati. Although I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices originally, I am Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, the Lord of all the planets. I am still your good friend. Don't worry. I am here for you. Although I have such great opulences, Atava Bagunaitena Kim gyatena tavarjuna vrishtabhya hamidam krishnam ekamshena sthito jagat. Although I am so great, still I am available to you. My dear son, I am accessible. I am right here in your heart. And all that great potency, I can do wonders for you. Just become my devotee. This is a lesson we can learn from this creation, description of sarga, visarga, and sub-creation, everything. Right? So, if we take a personalized aspect of the Lord's creation, we can really get into the mood of the Lord's creation. We can get into the mood of what Maitreya and Vidura are discussing and enjoying discussing. While they're talking about the vibration of atom and calculation of time, they are not disconnected. They are fully connected with Krishna. It's ecstatic for them to discuss this because they're Krishna consciously discussing it. Right? So this is a sum and substance a little bit. I can't go into too much of the details, but the spirit of it. I would like to stop here and invite for any questions that you may have. Om Tat Sat, Hare Krishna. Thank you for patiently hearing. I thought this is a difficult subject matter. Vidura and Maitreya discussion, a lot of technicalities. So I've tried to keep the technicalities to the lowest level and try to bring in the spirit of it and bring it in terms of bhakti and the personal aspect of the Lord and His concern for us. Om Tat Sat. Any questions or any comments?
Devotees who has a question can unmute themselves and ask those.
I can't hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Devotees, whoever has any questions, so you can ask them to Maharaj. At this point, you can unmute
Maharaj,
yourself.
Maharaj, Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam, all Guru Srila Prabhupada, and at your lotus feet, Maharaj. This is Praveen from Grand Rapids, Maharaj.
Haribol.
Maharaj,
Looks like.
yeah.
Praveen, have you met before?
Sorry, Maharaj?
Have you met before?
No, Maharaj, this is first time here meeting.
Okay, Praveen, tell me.
Very wonderful class, Maharaj. Thank you so much. My question is, Maharaj, like you mentioned about Maitreya Muni is not a pure devotee, as Prabhupada mentioned. Also, like Prabhupada mentions in when he explaining the Mahamantra, he says that milk touched by the serpent. I mean, you should not hear from non-devotees. Maitreya Muni is definitely non-devotee. I mean, he is a devotee. I mean, he is not like a non-devotee. He is definitely a but not a pure devotee at the same time. So we also hear that we should hear from devotee like Arjuna, who was the devotee of the Lord, and Krishna explained Bhagavad Gita to him. So what's the thin line where we say like we should? You mentioned like we should hear from anyone if the message is as it is. It should help us. So how do we take it, whether it's a neutral person, non-devotee, definitely we shouldn't hear, but or definitely we should hear from pure devotees. What's the basic difference, Maharaj, on that?
This thing and all that. Our levels may be very low. This distinction is at a very high level, just like we heard about Brahma going behind Saraswati. Right? It's definitely can't be brought down to our level because he continued and Krishna supported him and facilitated him. Obviously, it's something very different from what we would think with our materially contaminated thinking. In the same way, when Prabhupada is speaking about great personalities, like Maitreya Muni and saying, he is not the same like Uddhava, although he is sitting with Uddhava and listening to Krishna. And although Krishna is more inclined to speak to Uddhava, in terms of those distinctions, he is not a pure devotee like Uddhava. That's it. Which means that he may be more Gyan-oriented, he may be more yoga-oriented, he may be more this-oriented, but he's a devotee all right. It means he's a little bit of Mishra, little bit of mixed stuff, some small proportion of it. We cannot say that, but the same Lord has facilitated Maitreya Muni speaking to Vidura. Right? So we should be careful what we mean sometimes when we hear these things. Because in many places Prabhupada says, Even a neophyte can be a pure devotee of the Lord. If you read the Nectar of Instruction and Nectar of Devotion, you'll see. So what if he's a neophyte? He can be a pure devotee. So these are different things. These are different things. So in terms of pure devotion, only the gopis may be like that, super duper, or Uddhava and somebody like that. So pure devotion is not something generally in the scriptures considered to be so easy. It's only during Lord Chaitanya's time it has become very easy by chanting the holy name. So we sometimes use it very casually because we have access to pure devotion by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Whatever happened to Maitreya Muni? We've been thinking in a different way, but we should be careful. It is just that it's a highly concessional period for us, and we cannot match up. We may be very low class and still we are going to be lifted. That's the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. But that doesn't mean in any way that maybe Maitreya Muni is really not so good. You cannot think like that. We should be very careful because this is a Vedic culture exposition vis-a-vis pure devotion from the Bhagavatam, which is being. So Prabhupada passes this very great comments. In one place, in a conversation, he said, but how did Brahma go behind his daughter, this thing? He's a pure devotee. Prabhupada turned around and said, he's a great devotee. He said, he's a great devotee. He made a distinction between a great devotee and a pure devotee. But it's very difficult for us to understand. So what if he's not a pure devotee? He's still being used by Krishna in the creative process, in the things and everything together. Right? So we must look at it in a little polished way. I don't know exactly the answer to your question, but I can sort of facilitate an answer from inside you by the inspiration of the Sutra.
No, I think you explained very nicely, Maharaj. So we should be considering on the levels, like each devotee would have definitely, and pure devotee is the highest.
It's better not to mathematically, technically analyze these things. We have got the conditioning to actually put 2 and 2 together, and so I mean, how come 2 plus 2 is not equal to 4? I mean, what's wrong in the mathematics here? We've got a different type of education system, and we've got a different type of thinking prevailing. We want to put everything into slots and molds and everything and fix it up, and then only we are comfortable. But we are talking about pure devotion to the Lord. It doesn't lend itself to that type of, because the way we learn things in the material world is we have to control the event, the phenomenon, and put it under experiment and subject it to pressure, volume, changes, this and that, and study it and conquer the information. Bhakti doesn't lend itself to that. Right? Bhakti doesn't lend itself to that. It's very unpredictable if you start doing these things. To put it in a gross way, it's better to understand it as it is. It's Krishna's desire. Anything can happen to anybody. Pure devotion is completely in Krishna's hands. It's not calculable. It's not something that we can estimate and we can put 2 and 2 together. Okay? Right. Any other question?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Right. Dina Pavana Gaura Haridas.
Gaurangadas.
I'm sorry, because I can't see your full name. Dina Pavana Gauradas. Gaurangadas. Okay.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for the nice class. Even though, as you already mentioned, like lack of the devotion and depending on Krishna, we could not understand properly. I mean, not your talk, but the subject matter. But I have a question, Maharaj. Maharaj, you say like as it is coming from as it is. How do we understand it is coming from as it is? Sometimes we see like as a person from the parampara also, sometimes I may not be able to convey that message, but how the listener or they will understand that this is coming as it is directly from Krishna. So is there anything we can understand or we have to be aware of?
Well, there's something called inspiration. Like I said again, we can't calculate all these things too much. Intuition is what common word they would use in the secular world. But I think there is something more to our decision making and our faith placement. When we place our faith, it's not only by calculations of these things alone. There is some other voice and an intuition deep inside which tells you this is it. It's the voice of the Paramatma. It's the voice of Krishna who is with you. And that's what imposes faith. Otherwise, normally speaking, what Prabhupada is saying here in his purports, you can challenge it in a rationalistic temper. And like you may be also thinking, how do I believe in you? How do I know what you're saying is true? Right? Well, the Shastra is open to you. You can open and read it. And you get little understanding. Because the moment you ask the question, how can I believe in you? It means you're depending on your rational faculties. That's why you're asking this question. And in terms of rational faculties you have, they cannot accommodate the entire reality. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, they are trying to accommodate the elephant on the saucer. They will not be able to do it. So there is an element of faith which definitely is important. And that's why we are characterized as faith-based organizations and all that, very flippantly, in a very derogatory way. But faith is not something very casual. It's not easy to have faith also. Right? So we are, by performance of devotional service, our faith increases. Adhau Shadda Tata Sadhu Sangha Ata Bhajana Kriya. It goes ahead. So there is an element of faith that we impose, which is energized, which is strengthened and fortified by sadhu sangha, by reading the scripture, by hearing from Prabhupada. So that is our main point. Because I have faith, I'm hearing, and that faith is increasing, and I can't measure it. It's so intangible, I can't talk about it, but I'll do it again and again and again. I'll again go for the class. I'll again this thing because I have faith. Sometimes you can have faith because the person is giving you knowledge and you're into knowledge. And therefore I have faith because he has knowledge. Because it turns out to be good. But the best type of faith is a faith that comes out of inspiration and devotion.
Yes, Maharaj, actually you came the root cause of my question, because the reason for my question was sometimes when we try to preach the Guru Parampara's message, then some people wearing saffron dress and they messed up with the pure devotee, and then people from other sampradaya, not sampradaya, unauthorized sampradaya. Like, just to give you direct example, like Ramakrishna Mission. So they're confused between these two things. So their explanation of Gita, our explanation of Gita is very different. So that's why I wanted to understand, to convey this message, so that I can digest and convey the message to them, like how to differentiate between those two messages and to understand what is as it is means. That was the root cause.
Okay.
Thank you. And one more comment, Maharaj. Thanks for your association. I got your association during Puri Parikrama, Jagannath Puri Parikrama. So this is second time I am meeting you. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandat Pranams, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hari Bol Mataji.
Thank you so much for the wonderful class, Prabhuji, Maharaj. Maharaj, I had a question, a little linked on Prabhuji's question, the previous question before. As you mentioned in the class, Krishna, and Maharaj, please forgive for the primitive question. As you said, Krishna lovingly allows us to forget him. And so when we are trying to understand the subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam, they are very difficult to understand, Maharaj. So my question was, till we reach to a point where we are able to put our complete faith on it, what should be our mood and how should we try to understand the intricacies when we are not able to understand with um, our
Simple
small senses?
Simple thing that Prabhupada said was, if you don't understand, don't worry, read it again and again and again. There's a quote of Prabhupada which I use. I do a session called Reading Reform and reading Prabhupada's books. I display this quote there. If you don't understand, doesn't matter. I mean, you don't have to write an exam and get a degree or something. Why are you worried? We're interested in Bhakti. We read Bhagavatam for purification. Tada rajastamo bhavaha kamalobhadayaschaye chetete ranapritam sitam sattve prasiddhati. Right? It says that chindanti, your heart not, all these things will happen to you and gradually you'll be able to understand. The understanding is not something that we are forcing inside from outside in. The understanding is already there, it is coming out. It's the reverse of what we are thinking it is. By purification, Koreye Udaya, it comes out. Nistya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai, Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Koreye Udaya. So, you render devotional service to Krishna, you chant the holy name with sincerity, you read the Bhagavatam where you can't understand what to do. I don't understand many things in the Bhagavatam. Really don't. I just try my best to understand. I said, okay, fine. That's okay. I'm not going to feel bad about it. I go ahead and do what I can do best. What to do? I am a spirit soul. I am part and parcel of Krishna. That is great news for me. That is great news for me. I should be jumping and dancing instead of looking at one small thing. Oh, I can't understand this, and give up all the other real thrill and excitement. You discovered that you are a spirit soul. You discovered that you're part and parcel of Krishna. That he is your supreme father, Pita. Hamasya jagato mata data pitamaha. He's telling, I'm your father, mother, grandfather, everything for you. Such a great discovery. You revel in that. Why you bother about some structure of the universe in 5th canto that you cannot understand? It's okay if I don't understand, but I can relate with the Lord. And over a period of time that will come up. Forget it. What can you do if you cannot understand? Relax. You don't have to write an exam. Krishna is not going to give you a question from there. At the final exam, I want to give you a structure of the universe. You have to answer this question. Otherwise, I won't take you back to Godhead. Did you see it anywhere like that?
No, Maharaj.
Don't worry. This is the conditioning we have after going through our educational system. To hell with it. It doesn't matter. I will get to understand, because the understanding is coming by the Yasya Deve Parat Guru, Yasya Deve Parabhakti Tata Deve Ta Guru Tasyate, I'm getting not Tasyate Katita Hi Artaha Prakashante Mahatmanaha. The understanding is coming to us by the mercy of the Lord and Guru. It's not coming by your own endeavor alone. So relax. Give yourself a good time. You're a wonderful devotee.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I have to leave for the next session, which I have 10 minutes more to go to.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
With permission, please allow me to disappear from the virtual world of the Zoom. Okay. Thank you very much for all your association and opportunity given to me. Not very nicely present, but still be with all of you and discuss Krishna consciousness.
Maharaj, you said you'll have to leave right now, Maharaj. I didn't hear that clearly.
Yeah, I have to leave right now because I have to prepare for, I have a whole Bhakti Shastri session for the next 2 hours.
Okay, Maharaj. Okay, Maharaj. Thank you again so much, Maharaj, for your association. We will love to have you speak more and on more frequent occasions if you may have the time, if you may please, Maharaj. I really appreciate your time, appreciate your kindness to talk, for all of us, hoping to have many more such events, Maharaj. Hari Om Tat Sat, Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you,
for
Maharaj.
the
Thank you so
association.
much.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hare
It was
Krishna,
so
Maharaj.
wonderful.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna,
Maharaj,
Maharaj.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Maharaj, just one note,
Thank you so
Maharaj.
much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Maharaj, just one note. He's already left. Wanted to add that. Thank you so much, devotees, for joining.